For years, Colnago has been synonymous with decades of road riding, racing in Europe, and especially winning. Today, Colnago dips their feet, or should I say splashes, into the pool of gravel racing and gravel riding with the new Colnago C68 Gravel bike. While Colnagos have been ridden to victories on both road and cyclocross, it is probably not as well known in the gravel world. The all-road was launched just last year, and this year we have the new C68 gravel bike. It is a modular gravel bike, which means that it is different from other monocoque frames. In 1986, it was the first year Colnago assembled pieces of the bikes and then put together in the form of both tubes and lugs, and they've been doing it now ever since. Now it's all carbon, and they use all kinds of the latest technology, including integrating the cockpit to give it a clean and smooth look. Not to mention, in the cockpit that they make for this bike, the handlebars are flared by 2 centimeters. I found when riding, it was a perfect mixture of being able to ride on the hoods and tops, and then when I got into the drops, it helped me grind on some of those steeper sections. The bottom bracket is integrated. It comes as a 1x or 2x, and you can also get it as an electronic, and it's compatible with mechanical group sets as well. The bike I rode was a bike that had SRAM red on it and Zip 303 wheels. It was their top spec bike, and you can also get it in 2 colorways, both green and black. And let me tell you, in the sun, and it's sunny here year round, you can really see in the light the paint glistening in the sun, especially on the black. It just shows off a little bit of that extra attention to detail Colnago does so well. In terms of tire size, you can put up to 45 millimeter tires on it, and that can handle the majority of terrain. If you wanted to even go further, you could put something like a suspension fork on it. The one thing you can't do, though, is change out seat posts. Their seat post is theirs, it's proprietary, and it's made for their frame. It reminds me of an old quill style seat post that BMC had years ago on their bikes, but you can't put other seat posts on there, such as the industry standard 27.2. Now, when it comes to this, that means that you can't put things like a dropper seat post on it, and what you get is what you get when it comes to the seat post. But it does look really good, and it is something that most people would be okay with. The top spec is the Red Explorer, and it retails for 12,010 euros, so it's roughly about the same price. And these bikes are still made in Italy at the same original factory. The C40 was the first carbon frame to win Paris-Roubaix. Right now in the United States, it comes in as frame only, but in other parts of the European markets, you can get them as complete bikes, and the complete bikes can be shipped from Italy. Let's talk about how it rides. This thing is a bike that wants to go fast. Yes, it's on gravel. Yes, gravel is all about exploration. But for those of you that want to take this into the next level in terms of speed, or those of you willing to race on this bike can go as fast as you can. And what do I mean by that? The bike obviously doesn't move, you do. So what happens is when you transfer power, it is almost instant. It reminds me of the days when I was riding aluminum crit bikes and the power transfer would almost be instant. It would handle the terrain though, and you can still carry speed through a lot of the turns. Equipped with those flared handlebars and wide tires, I cornered in confidence. I used a Explorer 1x, which means I didn't have to fiddle around with a front derailleur. That derailleur took the weight off, and I don't have weights on the bike yet, but it is very, very light. This bike with the 1x Explorer, the Zip 303s, as well as the integrated cockpit and the lugged frame, comes in at a no doubt lightweight. I did bring my own pedals, which were Shimano XTRs, and we took it on a variety of terrain, including pavement, dirt, single track, and yes, a little bit of mud. And I was so thankful that Colnago sent their mechanics on hand for when we returned the bikes, they were the ones to do the cleanup. So in terms of versatility, this is not a bike packing bike. This is not a mountain bike replacement. I wouldn't add necessarily different sorts of shock absorbers, seat posts, stems, things like that. This is a bike that is meant to handle the terrain though with speed. Can you do Unbound with this? Of course you can. You can race Unbound with this. Is it comfortable on a multi-day backpacking trip? Probably not. Not to mention it doesn't necessarily have that versatility with mounts for bags and straps and things like that. So it wouldn't be in that direction. Now let's talk about the price. This is a north of $7,000 frame set. And then the complete bike at the top spec is around $12,000. Now I wouldn't necessarily take that kind of bike to just any old event. This bike is A, for anyone who can afford it, B, anyone that wants the best. And I know people are going to complain about that price, but when you represent cycling at the highest level, put the highest spec parts on it, and design it in Italy, putting the highest grade carbon on it, do not expect a bargain on Colnagos. Colnagos have never been the bargain hunter's bike. Yes, they have been a bike that's been more of a niche when it comes to cyclists and cycling enthusiasts. Many people have collected Colnagos over the years because they are really works of art. So if you were to buy this bike, you can ride it as hard as you can. And then when you're done cleaning it off, you can definitely hang it up on your wall and appreciate the craftsmanship that's involved in this bike. Currently, there's not too many North Americans riding Colnago. Of course, UAE sponsors the team running Colnagos, and of course, Tadej Pogacar is almost synonymous with Colnago. But in terms of the US, there isn't that much of a presence, although I'm anticipating with the birth of this bike, you will start to see more of them compete with the likes of S-Works, Crux bikes, Envy Mog bikes, and something in that spec. Now, Colnago wants you to be able to customize to a certain degree, but the spec that they have on it with its integrated cockpit and seat post saddle makes only pedals and component choice yours. I have found the Zip 303s to be perfect. We weren't going fast enough where we needed aero optimization, but we definitely were not going slow as well. In fact, I was hurting on some of those sections, keeping up with the faster media group people. So who is this bike for? Price tag aside, let's say you could afford it and you could only buy one bike. Why would you buy this one? That is the question. A lot of people are using gravel as now their main form of cycling. And if you wanted to make a true investment, this bike would be it. You'd have to save and save and save. But once you got it, this bike could pretty much do everything you threw at it. Now, you can swap out tires for different terrain. You would keep the wheels set. If you didn't like the 1x option, you could always switch it to a 2x. But for the most part, if you're riding gravel the majority of the time and you want a high-level bike with zero compromises, this is the bike for you. I understand bikes now are getting so overpriced that a lot of people are just not even considering an option. I consider myself lucky to be even able to ride this bike, but at the same time, there is a growing segment of the population that can not only afford this bike, but they take this bike everywhere. They're starting to race with it, and $12,000, which used to be insane a few years ago, is starting to creep into the realm of normality. Hopefully, though, that price point stays put because anything beyond that is astronomical. Yes, you can get bikes for much more money, but at the same time, when does the ceiling sort of stop? This was a multi-day media camp where I was able to rub shoulders with other people in the media giving their take on the bike. But Colnago really took the time to educate us on this bike as well as the brand, going as detailed as looking at the individual pieces that make up the frame to letting us ride the bike as hard as we wanted to. So thank you to Colnago. We appreciate it. We can't wait to test the next one. So Is this bike for you? Is money no object? If it were no object, would you get it? Would you get something else? Let us know in the comments, and until next time, this is Brian saying stay Veloworthy.